What's going on YouTube? Adrian here with another video. So today we are going to be talking about the Sony A7 II. I'm going to be telling you some things I like about it, some things I don't like about it, and just if you should invest in this camera. Is this the camera for you? So that's what we're going to find out. So stay tuned. Alright, so before I get into the good stuff, my name is Adrian. I'm a wedding and portrait photographer. On my channel, I post photography tips, tricks, and tutorials, and I talk about gear sometime. So if you're interested in that type of content, be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell so you won't miss any videos. I want to first start off by saying, I think if you're somebody who is shooting ASPC and you're looking into getting full frame and you know the benefits that come with using full frame cameras, then I think the Sony A7 II is a really good option. Once I was into photography for about a year, I felt like it was time for an upgrade. We started to shoot events and just things that required, you know, me to push my settings more on my camera and to have more features available with my camera to get the job done. So, you know, with a full frame camera, you're getting a bigger sensor, so you're able to, you know, push your settings more, which is important depending on what you shoot. You know, you're getting more different types of settings and different things, more advanced, you know, things that you could do with your camera, like, you know, different focus modes and things like that. So those are kind of the things that kind of intrigued me into getting a full frame camera. Now, I've tested this camera a lot. I've done a lot of different types of shoots, a lot of different, you know, family sessions, events, maternity, anything you could think of. And I really think this camera is for people who are shooting more portraits. Now, I'm not saying that you can't shoot events and different things like that with this camera, but I really think it shines, you know, for someone who shoots portraits. Now, the more I started to shoot with this camera and, you know, we got into weddings and different kind of events and stuff like that, I noticed that, you know, this camera, it's not as good when shooting those types of things because of the focus. When I'm shooting, I like to use the single point focus a lot. And with this camera, you have to go into a menu and move around buttons and press this button to set your focus point. I don't know, it was just a headache. That's one thing I really don't like about this camera, is how you have to set your focus point and how you have to change it. Now with the A7 III, it comes with the joystick, so it makes it easier to move your focus points and to change your focus point. You can also hit the touch screen to select your focus point. So once again, it depends on what you're shooting. Now, like I said, this camera will be good for some people. It won't be as good for other people. It depends on what you shoot. You know, if you need to be quick when it comes to moving your focus point, or if you think that's a priority to you, then this may not be the perfect camera for you. But if you're somebody who's shooting more portraits, you know, people aren't moving a lot and you don't need to get those really quick shots, then I feel like this is the perfect camera. Okay, so now I want to talk about the price. So this camera comes in at about, I think, $1,000, which I feel like, you know, it's a really good price. You're not gonna really just, you know, break the bank. You're not spending $3,000, $4,000 on a camera. And you know, it's not the cheapest camera out. And I just feel like for the features and what you're getting, and you know, just getting that full frame sensor, this, you know, that's a really good price for a camera. So let's say you end up investing in this camera, but you also want to get some good glass, then you're probably going to end up spending less than, you know, maybe $2K, which I feel like it's affordable, especially for someone who's doing, you know, professional work. You could just save up from your sessions, and you know, it's something that it's not out of reach. You know, it's something that you can afford if you save up. So yeah, you're not really breaking the bank, and I feel like the value that you get with this camera at $1,000 price point is perfect for somebody who wants to get into, you know, Sony full frame and go from there. When it comes to picture quality, I think the pictures look really good. You know, I don't really have much to say about the picture quality. Now, I also shoot with the Sony A7 III, and when you line up the photos side by side, honestly, you can't really see a difference in the picture quality. So I feel like you're getting just as good, you know, picture quality with the Sony A7 II that you get with, you know, some of the bigger models like the Sony A7 III and stuff like that. Now let's talk about some things that I don't really like about this camera. So the first thing is the low light performance. Low light with this camera is not the best. That is something that I noticed, you know, once I started getting into events and being in situations where the light isn't the best, and you know, then I would start to crank up my settings, and I noticed that, you know, the low light performance with this camera, it's just not the best. Now it is acceptable, but I noticed once I start to push my ISO, you know, maybe the mid 2000s, or if I would try to go higher than that, then you can see noticeable noise with the photos. Now that may not matter to you. Once again, it depends on what you shoot. Maybe you're somebody who doesn't, you know, you don't really shoot in low light, or maybe you're someone where your lighting conditions are always good. So, you know, just think about what you shoot and if, you know, this camera aligns with the type of photography that you're doing. So if you're someone who shoots events and you know you want that performance in low light, then you might want to go with the Sony A7 III. Now if you're someone who shoots portraits and you're always in good lighting, then it won't really matter to you. So, you know, it just matters what you shoot. So another thing that I really dislike about this camera is the battery life sucks. Once again, I don't think this is a deal breaker to everybody. You could easily get a battery grip and then you won't have that problem anymore. But I never I never invested in a battery grip, and you know, me and my wife, when we were shooting like longer photo shoots and events, we would constantly have to change out our batteries, which it can be annoying, but to you that may not matter. So if you're someone who prioritizes battery life and you don't want to keep having to, you know, worry about switching out your battery, then you might want to go for the Sony A7 III, because that battery right there lasts forever. I could literally shoot almost a whole wedding day and not change out that battery. So if the battery life is important to you, Sony A7 III is no good. You should definitely go for the Sony A7 III, but now they have the Sony A6600, which I think that has the same batteries as the Sony A7 III. So that's another option that you could look into. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Sony A7 II. I've had this camera for a long time and I loved it, man. It's done a lot of good work for me, and I feel like it's a great camera. I'm not knocking this camera at all. It's just some things that I like about it, some stuff that I don't like about it. But if you're someone who, you know, you're shooting crop sensor right now, you're looking into a full frame camera, then you cannot go wrong with getting this camera. It can do everything you need. You know, I was just kind of nitpicking it, especially being that I shoot with the Sony A7 III now and I can compare them. And you know, obviously the Sony A7 III is better, but it can definitely get the job done. I feel like it really shines, you know, when you're shooting portraits. Now when you're getting into situations where you need a faster focus and stuff like that, it's not the best camera in the low light, but it can still get the job done. So I feel like you cannot go wrong with this camera, especially if you're a beginner or you're starting to do professional work. Especially for the price, you are getting a lot of bang for your buck in value in this camera. So if you're interested, you should definitely check out this camera. I'm going to put the link in the description below. Now, I also have another video that I think you might like. It's the Sony A7 II versus the Sony A7 III. And now with that one, I go more in depth with the features and stuff like that and just why I upgraded and if the upgrade is worth it. So if you're interested in that and want to check it out, just hit the card right here and it'll take you to that video. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I post new videos every week. I will see y'all in my next video. Peace.